Maluwaysay, malungil tutaw, ngil tutaw malagi darogoy, tungubat silungil tutaw, amor bungol Palau, senators, delegates, ministers, governors, samar tunguni trial adarablo le oban kader el tutaw, tungubat silungil tutaw PPUC, mar board members sa PPUC loban kader el tutaw. Kumtera Obisya President, Minister Minister of Finance, Emmanuel Ramiro Mera, Telmawong Event Sales, Palau Development Symposium, ora Afimer Ergider El Tutawa, keeping the lights on and the water flowing. Kung kasi, ako yung dirigin motor belawin, ang waseng kada makarang yung maere malmol mapengkirki ng dikmar malmol maral ng dimara rapat kansits sang waysay ang korablok me there's say hindi kalsa so tiyan side event register elat tutaw Los el makatmok lultoy rangya sura matokot partner sa LID, hangya Asian Development Bank, hangya Palau Public Utilities Corporation, PPUC, Graduate School USA. So, era pato koramal yung program magiging ilang tutaw, yak mo ontira Mr. Manny Abelbay, na PPUC, magmaski na kagaman lungo ilang tutaw.
Let us bow our heads for prayer. Heavenly Father, good morning. Thank you for protecting us and past the night in safety and protecting our houses from attacks in the night and from calamities of earth, wind, rain, and sea, and bringing us here this morning. Lord, you are an amazing God, you are an awesome God, and the only one worthy of our worship, adoration, and praise. Lord, now may you be with this, be with every single one of us that are here. May you give us the strength that we may execute our duties to the best of our abilities for the people and the Republic of Palau. We thank you for these things, in Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Thank you, Manny. Salamat mo ulit Mr. Nihat Mutul R. Bale, niya Chairman na Board of Palau Public Utilities Corporation, mamaski na opening remarks.
Ali, ito tayo turong, abiyo, manurap, biro magtantira Rahul Belaw, utagal niya Senator nakaburag sa tu tabilu nga tira bila masih Belaw kita takip tajam namin tutaro ulat nga ni Irak Lutun Reagan Bale Chairman PPUC mal logi total numero ulat rakta kapita ya di kurang sulit mitel bisa sektor ora side event ra PPUC and yo wala ramam bilong agara wol bitin ka ba makadin na oversight di mo gira ramam mitel na will book mistra arade e ko sa gilbi ra belang gimbal ba so ituro medyo ngite na yo kaya dara mo do o so the weekend statement ra PUC italaw lak mo akmuliara sa website ra PUC sa arada mesa e plus magiging wasatan BT on bref o Symposium en anya report e matsok tal statement ng bora magiging report ng motor so ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, colleagues, and partners in total, on behalf of the Board of Directors of PPUC, I would like to express our sincere appreciation for the opportunity to participate in this important development symposium. When people speak about economic growth, they often focus on tourism, investment, trade, infrastructure, or technology. But behind every successful economy is something much more fundamental: reliable essential services. Electricity powers our homes, businesses, schools, hospitals, airports, and communication systems. Water protects public health, supports families, and sustains development. Sewer services safeguard our environment and preserve the quality of life for future generations. Without these services, economic growth cannot happen. As a utility corporation, PPUC carries a unique responsibility. We are not simply operating a business. We are protecting critical national infrastructure while balancing affordability, reliability, sustainability, and long-term financial responsibility. From a board perspective, our work is highly strategic and policy-driven. The board's responsibility is not to manage daily operations, but to establish governance, oversight, accountability, and long-term direction. Our role is to ensure that management has clear policies, measurable goals, and the support necessary to deliver essential services to the people of Palau. One of the most difficult realities facing utilities around the world today is that expectations continue to rise while infrastructure ages and costs increase. Customers expect reliable services 24 hours a day. Governments expect compliance and accountability. Financial institutions expect sound management. Employees expect opportunities and stability. And communities expect utilities to prepare for climate change, disasters, and future growth. Balancing all of these responsibilities requires careful policy decision and disciplined governance. At PPUC, our board continues to focus on several key priorities. First, strengthening long-term financial sustainability while maintaining fairness to customers. Second, supporting infrastructure modernization to improve reliability and resilience. Third, promoting transparency, accountability, and strong governance practices. Fourth, investing in our workforce because no utility succeeds without dedicated employees. And finally, preparing for future through sustainable planning, partnership, and innovation. As island nations, we face unique challenges. We are vulnerable to climate change, fuel price fluctuations, supply chain disruptions, and limited economies of scale. But we also possess resilience, adaptability, and strong community values. PPUC must therefore be viewed not only as service providers, but a fundamental partner in national development. Every investment in reliable utilities is an investment in economic growth. Every improvement in infrastructure supports business and families. And every sound policy decision today helps secure a stronger, more sustainable future tomorrow. Lastly, I would like to recognize the employees, leadership, stakeholders, and partners who continue to support the mission of PPUC and the development of our nation. The work of a utility corporation is often unseen when system functions properly, but its importance is felt immediately when services fail. That is why responsible governance, thoughtful policy, and long-term planning remain essential. Thank you once again for the opportunity, and I wish everyone a productive and meaningful symposium. Sula.
مساء chairman بلاء رسالة مالوغي للكلات كالمريكي دلوسة تغور على الساس و economic growth مال كلورنجي يغطوي الروني مرال الدنجي مرال مسوين مغار سيدة غدا مرسل نفس El part tra program margit ila tutaw makmo ulingit tra Mr. Anthony Rudim ma Marson Adriano mamaskit sa yan ongoing PPUC projects current may yan ongoing may yan future projects sa PPUC.
Nel total total bigubak ituro abilo kan masara artian total director kya of course our tafel senator artian Dr. Patrick Tende naging total bagaimana tu chairman ramam tiang tim PPUC then present or may partner tayo side event development symposium. So, umura ka PCF, tumim, nge aklela mani adan bay, nge title niya EPO planner. Ngorior adra dengi ka wonder engineer sa kamam. Ya ready la book plan ato ra dengi na PUC re almo na data. Saya ready la yan. Ya ngel next niya atri rudim ka PPID manager saya title ini SL PPID Center for Projects Planning Implementation Department. Ang kabuk ka umda yung mga uda to nges ikre na wala balmen book ay to project na PUC malmer bena utaw. Saya ready la moltaw te o mes mga talang book man Ministry of Operations, tigil book na daily operations. And kung ay book team mo budula ikre bela book trosi. Okay, of course, again, next year, only chairman not to react and then nung kan ngartiang ngati imon book kakalin another bello datsan na isang other kel benur bello so wala Mr. Sunil Tongki tinagaluan engineer ma'am he's a civil engineer over jali sewage treatment plant ramala kaya oversee terrorist system sewer lagi de book already laut malingar itu hotel sa treatment plant and then nung next niya Mr. Marson Adriano kau para aral berarti over area good water system sa Palau mo timukra ang ayaw mabiliyaw mo ayaw ang gili Mr. Titim lingi manager raran mending virtually no of island nalagyan ng doktor na school no rin Marson na tel book represent ato raran ngal mo last Miss Kaya Solomon nga public relations officer kaya ukurere to da hospital PUC malubeng brula programs activities book pura ulwal omerga gen totoo telang tinglaw la PUC ako ra specialize sa PUC Robert tungkol sa mga ngin PUC ngaida so email ringi o mo ringi malubeng the messenger okay nga torol gibon sa mga administration ng PUC already nga wala di boleh orang mesti already arbitral make sure ada manmul si kutbok already mariangan sa sila help loke lagi essential mali may mal lo spell toy mali may plan si manmul lo root tayo ay already tayo to department of PUC madang di sa igi de mo nga utas sa apat presentation namo Mr. Marson Adriano kung sila presentation ng inatawaran
Maluwin tutaw Marson Adriano, yourself obviously in our operations office PPUC. Kulturi o present award. So today my presentation will go over where our operations currently stand right now and some of the projects that we're working on and where we might hope to move in the future. So, next slide. So a lot of the work happening right now is really focused on improving our reliability and strengthening our monitoring programs and really preparing our systems for increased operational and climate challenges. So PPUC manage wide range of water systems across Palau, from larger urban systems and Y7 water system begin nga urbo niya ultangara suplara mura majority na population begin. Maigil mo decentralized systems in remote communities in Babeldaw, including Kayangan, mga Ngayor, Mablinyo. Each systems operate differently. It comes with its own challenges, but some areas are still dealing with aging infrastructure, but and some others still face issues related to drought or even limited infrastructure. But despite these challenges, our goals remain the same. So we want to maintain a reliable water service while still improving the existing system. Next. Oh, yeah. Sorry. Okay. So my next slide just highlights some of the projects within operations and some of the more important initiatives that are currently supporting the existing operations across our system. So some of the project really focuses on infrastructure improvements, such as pipeline rehabilitation, storage upgrades, and treatment system improvements. But others are more focused on monitoring programs, groundwater protection, and operational planning. But one thing that we've learned over the past years is that improving operations is not only about infrastructure. It also requires better information, better coordination, and planning tools. We also have some regional partnerships that are very important. Programs like MCAP, Regional Hydrology Initiatives, all these programs are really helping our operations to strengthen our technical capacity and also improve how we manage our resources for the long term. My last slide just shows the water operations, what it actually looks like on a daily basis. So a lot of the work right now really depends on the field crews, operators, coordinations between our teams, really just manual monitoring and adjustments that are still part of the daily operations. But while many improvements are happening, I guess this slide is meant to show the reality that a large part of our operations still relies on people in the field keeping systems running every day. But right now we're slowly building the foundation for a smart utility system where monitoring and operations are connected as a one system. So this is the direction that we're looking into in terms of future for the water operations. I guess in my next presentation further on, I will further discuss the transition between the traditional utility to the smart utility, the direction that we're trying to move forward to. Thank you very much.
Lang mereka show kain diktimutan mo wise nga kleka Anthony Rudim nga ka manager sa department tergi dra PPUC project planning and implementation department di halanga ka ko ra nervous maklol sak nervous ingre kaloka omu ko ra ongala kal mang nga ka era bo ra PPUC bokplol di mera mayong alme ko ay sa tora PUC nga ka amne adra basket masa ku basket ngaramo ngaramo ng meron ko mas tira giblem da kalo basket ngaramo ng neblo sisi nga gidali Senator Sungino Senator Nakamura Speaker Roy Dan mang dire ko meron ko merteng ko mas tira tigal ko namura Minister of Finance and mal dia sab ina nga kara basket Steven Redor ubay raking show marwat tabsul ra ngira lamsang Gukora, milarong ko kamesat tial, kung temleng artiang, kung menga, kailangan kong tikai the next mo. Hopefully track lang sa iyo, kung sisi nga ka basket, kung may mga ado artiang. So, okay, since I got presentation, I got talk about, then I'll move back to English. So, in my presentation, I'll be presenting on the ongoing and upcoming projects, particularly from 2026 to 2028, the next 3 years. And since the PPUC covers 3 main services, water, wastewater, and electricity, including renewable energy, I'll be updating 4 projects that covers each of those sectors. So I guess for a lot of farmers and people from agriculture, you know the saying, farm to table. For people who protect the environment, I guess there's a saying, they protect from the ridge to the reefs. From PPUC, we care from the sunlight to the street light. And if it's water, we see it's raining outside, we take it from the clouds to the comfort room. At belaw, ang ul, almar o ortol. So for the first system, I would like to cover the water system. The 3 pictures that I present today shows some of the main issues that we are facing on the water system. And I believe everyone in this room is aware or has some sort of idea of or has heard about these issues. The one on the far right, on my right, and the middle picture shows our people replacing or repairing one of the very old asbestos cement pipes. You may see from the attire of the picture on my far right, is a hazardous material, hence the full PPE. And those pipes are over 60 years old or 70 years old, hence they frequently break. I think for the Ngara Amayong and Bilung may be well aware, in the past years we've had water outage in this area because the pipes over here is still asbestos. The picture on my left, where you see green, yellow, and red dots, that shows the current water pressure of the Koror area. The average, a good water pressure would be higher than 20 psi and would fall around 40 or 50 psi. From this diagram, we could see that there are still a lot of areas that receive more than that. And if you receive water pressure higher than that, the system is more susceptible to breaks, leaks. Hence, we have a very high non-revenue water, or AMARS, close to 50%. The red dots are areas receiving water higher than around 100 psi. The yellow is close to 80 psi, and the green is close to 60 psi. So on that basis, then we applied to JICA for a grant aid project. And we were fortunate enough to get their approval for a $17 million grant to solve those issues. So with that grant from JICA, we intend to replace some of these old asbestos cement pipes. You may recall from 2015 to 2018, there was very wide excavation ongoing throughout Koror. So we will be doing the same activity from this very generous support from JICA, but we will be focusing on the hamlets. So we've done, I believe, Ngarbeed, we've done Idid, Magati, and those areas. So for this project, we will aim to go to Ngarmid and the other remaining areas, Ngaramay, and those areas. We will also be installing pressure control valves throughout Koror. As I said, we still have areas that receive over 100 psi water pressure, which results in more frequent breaks, etc. We will also be introducing some new technology, for example, some smart meters. So with this project, there are 4 main issues that we face on the water system currently. We have old water pipes, which are still asbestos cement. We'll be replacing them with plastic pipes, both PVC. The PVC is the pipes that we currently have on island. And we're also going to be introducing HDPE pipe, which is like PVC, but thicker and more flexible. So our hope is by introducing that pipe, then we'll face fewer breaks in the future. We have a high non-revenue water. Non-revenue water is basically water that's treated and not being read at the meter. So we'll be introducing pressure control valves on each water tank to better regulate the pressure. and provide training to our leak detection team so that we can find leaks that do not come out of the ground. We'll also be replacing about 1,000 water meter throughout this project. Before, in 2016, our thought was AMARs or leaks is only on the break on the water line. We've come to realize that a large percentage of the non-revenue water also comes from inaccurate meter readings or inaccurate meter. So in 2021 to 2022, we did a pilot. We tested 23 water meters in a certain area. Out of the 23, we found that 19 water meters were defective. And these are meters that have been installed for over 30 years. So what does a defective meter mean? So what ended up happening is when we tested the 23 meters, we found that 19 out of those water meters detected much less water than the actual water that we ran through the meter. So example, if 100 gallons went through the meter, it only detected 30 gallons. And that 70 gallons that's not measured, that counts towards AMARs or non-revenue water. So that's why we found it important to now include in the project replacing 1,000 meters. Included in that 1,000 meters is, I believe, maybe 600. 600 will be smart meters, which are meters that we don't have to physically read. You can remotely access the meter and get the meter reading. So that will hopefully save on cost from people going there, but also improve the accuracy. And then the last one is low visibility on the water system. I'll give you an example. We have 5 water tanks on the Koror Airai water system. Near PNCC, Ngarmid, Ngarkaswal, Ngarkapsang, and Malakal. To monitor those water tanks, it needs a person to drive there at any hour of the day, even early in the morning, like 5 a.m. Someone has to physically go there and read the meter and check the water level. The inefficiency there is now we have people who work overtime. They do not get enough sleep because the same people who repair the pipes are the same people who read the tanks. But furthermore, because we cannot monitor them in real time, there would be instances that if we didn't check the water level and it filled up quicker than we anticipated, you would get an overflow on the tank, and that's water loss. So we will be introducing a SCADA system where from the water treatment plant or from the office, then you can just check the water level of each tank. So that's the Selingesol from Japan. For the sewer system, I'll try and be careful because I think I've talked about the sewer system for most of my presentation. But the sewer system details will be shared by Mr. Konki Sunil later. But I just wanted to touch, when I say sewer system, I'm going to be talking about CASP. That's the project that we're dealing with, the Koror Airai Sanitation Project. So for CASP, we've already finished installing, we've finished installing the sewer lines. We've finished constructing some of the sewer pumping stations. This one is in Makati. We finished constructing a new sewer treatment plant. And we've also constructed, I don't know if everybody knows, but under CASP, we've constructed 2 public toilets. So for sewer line, we've installed the sewer line from Makati all the way to CIP office, skip Minatobasi, and then from Malakal all the way to the sewer plant. We've also constructed a new pumping station at Makati, and that was in 2019. We've commissioned a new sewer treatment plant that's currently in use. We've been using it since November 2021, and we've constructed the public toilet at Erongul Park, and we've constructed the toilet at Long Island. But again, it's not our service to operate and maintain, so we did an agreement with Koror State, so operation maintenance is with Koror State. So what is still left in the project is, we've completed all that, but what's remaining is the sewer line from the CIP office, the old CIP office, to the Malakal treatment plant is not yet operational. And there are 3 reasons why it's not operational. The new pumping station at CIP office is not yet complete. The connection at the Minatobashi line is not yet made. And the sewer pumping station across the Malakal port is not yet complete. So under this project, and we know that CASP has been over 10 years as a project. And in 2023, I recall with the effort of the Congress and the Office of the President, they did an MOU with ADB. to say, let's look for funds in the in grants, not loans, to complete this project. So ADB has provided a $2 million grant to complete this CAS project. So you will see if you head towards Malakal, we've already fenced the old CIP office area and construction is now ongoing. So at the old CIP office, we've started construction. You've seen we broke ground for the first time for this project 2 weeks ago. In front, near the new Minatobasi construction, you will see WCC staff. Now those are the subcontractor for this project. So you will see some Surangal staff, they're working on Minatobashi, and then you'll see maybe some guys from Australia and guys from WCC working on this project. But this is underway and we expect it to complete this year, November. So after that project is done, we will have a fully functioning new sewer system from Magati all the way to the sewer treatment plant. So that will reduce overflows at Libu Street, especially across Palau water and near Sel before Island Paradise Hotel, Sel Gabr, Morabdul Island Paradise Hotel, bitra blila Florencio Yamada. Cedric al me do masuweringi, masabal rectal projecting, more resolver say. But in addition, once this new line is functional, then we will have additional capacity to then have future development or any future hotels or whatever connect to the sewer line. Now, last but not least, I would just like to touch on the upcoming and ongoing and upcoming projects for the electricity system. So first, this started 2 years ago. We're now at the warranty stage. We've completed the installation of a new transmission line from Malakal all the way to Koksay. We installed over 450 new power poles and a new transmission line that would run from Malakal all the way to running on the east side and to Koksay. So I think from this project, we expect to improve stability of power. I believe Manny will be sharing some information on this later. But one of the benefits we see here is, I know there's a project from the Republic of Palau to provide power to that new jail, for a new correctional facility. With the facilities we've installed under here, we're now able to extend the power to that new facility. Also, another project is, there's a large solar facility at Koksay, but we've also seen a large growth and a very rapid growth of solar rooftop systems in Palau. So what we realize now, that in addition to our diesel power generations in both Malakal and Aymalig, we have an abundance of generation. What we lack since COVID is we haven't seen the same growth in load or usage. So what we end up with is we have excess energy. So to address that and improve the economics of the solar energy, we're under the a grant from the Australian government through the AIFFP. AIFFP, the Australian Infrastructure Financing Facility for the Pacific. And then what they're doing is they are under a grant providing an additional battery of 5 megawatt, 20 megawatt hour that would enable us to capture all the excess energy that's produced during the day and now use it at night. Maybe just to give a better example. So right now, since 2024, when we commissioned the new solar plant, we usually run 3 diesel engines every day, 24 hours. Since that new solar was developed, we run 3 engines up until 8 a.m. From 8 a.m. we turn off 1 engine. Then from 8 a.m. to around 5 p.m. only 2 engines run with the solar. Now with this battery, we can then now capture the excess energy during the day and then extend that 2 diesel engine operation, or extend the period where 1 engine is off. Rather than 5 p.m., we can now extend it further, so we're talking maybe 8 or 9 p.m. And the benefits of that is we should get lower fuel consumption and better efficiency on the system. So under the JICA project, we used to have aged equipment and low capacity. With after that project, we now have newer equipment in Malakal, Ira, and Koksay. Also, with this new equipment and other capacity, we can also connect additional 7,500 customers to the grid. And then with additional battery coming from a grant, now we will be able to extend the life of the engine shut off. We will save fuel and then improve the economics of the solar project and hopefully see better power rates. So in summary, these are the upcoming projects from 2026 to 2028, all thanks to the collaboration that our government promotes with our partners, including JICA, ADB, AFFP, and many more. And with these upcoming 3 years and the completion of all 3 projects, we envision delivering services as well as promote future development in these new systems. Thank you.
Awala tamo mara next part ta program pero ako mabilo ngarinya mar audience ngarinya kadril mara adra PUC marson ma Antonina awala tamo mara next session ngia tora renewable energy.
Komli kabe aral ma kari kati to aral ma sing loga to aral ma oi ran bra ngarar to di tingul mo ke kadep ran bra ol ella kari kasing safe lamo safe sa temli maral bra ngarar malum ran bra ol
Malungin la karim agel ral mra babelda quality ringi adirga kabulwaral mra orior mayray mong dirga kalbol sa beedel malimring ding passer cell standard ra chlorine el ngia gira mal arangi mong makawat makodira paiking din dia ka segi del ko arularal madirga kabol sa amamal ngul merio el mor segi del el standard ra equipe bil gira mal passering el waya orior aral mar orior mayray. I hope ak na answer sel karif.
oi oi siya mutul ti oger bukul lase nga kamla nga mu okay marigik ya bebe graul de katalta mi kiba molim taran raul ma kapim la next kadi katagit sebe del molim taran mo se molim maran mi the future ganam na babal daw mo orior
Why say orior el anga osikro lela although the material el mo gutmok lagi del water system ra babal daw el dirga kalbol so be el mali manaral meringil why say el ral mal to dra plant ra ngarul wobal.
kam sulang
Okay.
Pero bakal balbang kal maasal ngaraba kal dimlador sa iman le ko el memay karakaw.
Malungit tutawe kama ngar along aki ngarake de ospe araral man ngararal mang sel gun momrang sing ko malungila alda adu alkire la artelaral madengi hindi kama afecta ay la del molgoy ay ang atiri kaltir ngarit problem kama mel asel kari kawase how long al dongi lang masabi del malimaran kama malo speraral marngarada el baby rata men dia ka treatment del morseral muato selbol klaul lang marnya tong taray karal marala mo makeka dapat ngir emor hospital that's one ongerung hindi kam lata dengir kam mara kasusel medal 3 hours emok marta ano nga along makari kawasi how often kung mal excessive a power outage nga along sabi iul ko ako to something al sugo mang connect mo ako mong rangklel dengi en sabi iul rulil ko tiya kalbol ko sa problem nga along sabi Malakal mataman la ay spak sergi dal ubang araklen. I don't know, hindi ako tingin tele la dengin. I hope you can understand. Mulko to korbelan po to tungi.
Ngil tuta ngil ba se maral lungil ay al garim gal point of lam raise yes wagel diru barson ra seluk grila geruba maral mlaw makatertel ay gal especially ay gal system sa abelur babalda ba ngwadi dong do trial of course ang niya repair doru ending o sa nga PUC or selwal ora akabang lo sa nga malubing ulda swel gira la kasi ka gira del el mora igel rata igel kurbabel swel or igel morsel level tel treatment ra rulobel say gida awal lurung uledel swadel all together ngil swadel moruli matarak labasain sa ila igal ralmel mangimra pa tao ma dire kal dos pe hindi ka po ser ma dia kal tu ang ara patenged lin ending again umle dilli marson sige to ko raw do el altam akuk sel wal mandate tra PUC ra to la se ngari nga dire kal kuk tokol ngari lubeng tokol tingel sel la kula siya para aral marababal daw amukul ngum melangas el mort yagid limit yagid el rate which is the rate sa 2011 hindi wa double asiring el ang akula sa melas ko hindi kalangas SLR makarad mok laygal el system sirigid kad malamol mulultur tial aral mar orior mababal daw mar other orior mababal daw bawal longkad tial maral aral tial yang egita akuk malas ringi loban mo mok laygal system sa mababal daw ending man limis ngosong hindi ka role le tiri sel actual akmo ka ben ringi presentation ra ma to lamol mendiri ka kad mo ka ben hindi sa gid away al ngal sang sa dal al tam suwada ungil kada expect ta ungil hindi sa gid ara la kal suwada al harari ma PUC adi kal give up agi malmol mrura ram mga sumugor ma mrura gel murat kurba sa amal sa el notable sa amal notable diesel aral maluwing oy aral sera adra bil dos pero hindi ka po sera ma dia ka matamal ni to ko natin kim dire next presentation amu mo diesel siya sing natin gid el altam en mo makata-click wa sa ila tengir murtala rakoxile all the way mora moro ollay adi imolseng kita ni sel dorar mong do mesa igal sen gi tutura dulu ariom mas arage meteng pura omwa le wai sai ege ngulum di sel utera rangaramo ege dire gal gira la piusil nguk ngara dire ngara plan gi del swad el moto bata ege mera mertial kulara el mobiota do mes de monitor de maintain make sure hindi kalamada adengira ege mor gomil ngara ano seguida wal challenge gi de lang era tutak nyo la message ko sa mle pa yap mlewan nguk arma amla la dallo mle mas araseng mlida bogodi la dengir sa gid mung ramle gire lang ram lungo hindi affect your cell all the way more pa mga gid challenges of the face ma dir kal mokte gid lang so amal di o to pa gid ro ko mo understand el beklat el touch el kay ngase gut mok legal system gid malos pe sulang
Oh, kaman masulang Also mangira la budget for the trial as kay kal state malolo nga sew. Bolsa el mo reliable al system sel kami os. Rural provider mo rara. Kamsulang.
sulang
A question na ka sel lultening tara question ay kal blur babal tao ang rad marines whether malim dia ka problem rin wayang ram lungoy ak madeng nga ka since rabol mereka makamatar ako kimoli maral meraul ngatel dia namo obera eri ke dirgat sige tara question ongerung I got sewage tuwa tarang malaan. I they treated it safe and murang tao. Ongete. Asugumang como spare solar compensate ra power. Hindi akal saber ko ang effect ra charges ra denki mong patrigi merio. I get 3 questions. Sulang.
Sulang itulong na karim sel ko karim sa LHNC di ara to ko omali mineral ma. Undas kami ra ngaram lungoy atos mo ngila water source kami mo hindi akal sal guru si ng kal system lo mi tial mi. Di sel to po regel bebi ra balu ng song san men wa arwa ngiwal ang ara ito. Mamal kayo kung di malara ko rati made ral ma agel bebi ra balu ra arwa karar ko long mo at telikibel tigil bring la tomi hindi baul mo bring ra kita ang mal morsel quality sa edel consume hindi baby ra why kami ra ngam lungoy ma ay mali arwa ka pa mal mo chloral bring il belwa ke blol tika mal issue ra. And of course, at adira nga catchment tira waral ma amin ara ulum sil mali may ral. Hindi amos ra again amos ra kel belura. Ang ara atas padal mo nga de lungil doli maral man. E pero kel tul gari mege kadir kamrael mo. Kadmo takad mo kape ra kay kidel karibra in more detail. Sula rupa.
Will tutaw tel ka di kamura Anthony. So, sel gadilulu ase 70% leaking, right? Ra kil leaking al vibe 70%. So, adara blue away al haraurgi ele sel I understand la la PPUC was there other olvira lil was say diakal sabi edel konge el help rar other arala ay kagidel ralma social 70% away are blue although abay rakabalment ma PPUC hindi blue ay kiliking ringar blue appear sel 70% ulmal momring aral ma sel sewer adira kan mal mading aral maleng hindi akim understand der tel formular kamiu so mang agira der kukrulya ba even mora kagita le sewer radyan ngarang dira kan mal mading rar adara blu so ngire rar adar olbira kan lulaw loreng selwase komri relia la lwase hindi kal sabi edal help rar bulun may nasa aralay kel aral ma lengala ma tia leaking bulua a shoulder ringi tia klol albul morar atara bulu segi dattara ager adira kaltara agere Anthony wasim tia lordom ra bulur orior dirka asbestos dirka ta change ringi when ngoingrang ma kam talgivel smoothie maloreng stikal adar orbe kalulal waseng makaranga elia gimil saudara atokora SS ma pension waseng maraka the help ilang guk maranga the help para tial tokora aral masur leng ngari omol ko komil wase may ela kami bebira adalusa udodar kami ula kami mo ngarang kletial ngara ado komla mo solar. So I like that kaya other PPUC mo mera other blue. Because agum da so ang leather ko ya help kasi makarang ada help malak sal kurusya other blue. So kamo southern tial 70% leaking shouldering at other blue. El da sabi ul help ngir gidleng ala akmul wasing ngiram di diri other leaking it doesn't matter. Public ako head pairing kabo Anthony
Sulang bilong bato ka regal kari mabolo ngira torwal nganya ko PowerPoint ringil luriw el tutaw di gimal mal aswar segid kedil kangarba bal amars tiklo ta di makatakli amars lang ngara o kayi mal basent min di kadamal aswar segid klol amars maul sel bodo ngay or bodo lingi tangis or takal tukol sa aliding settle namo tianga di sela 10 years adam lang tamo mong ongerung ngi $10 ngi rasaba di mom te ba So sebelum mereka tegid project ya target awal target target lang ak musangara ko yung malpasen sebelum mereka project tinggal rep tul mo ngario ra 40%. So tamo mo el alira July misal Bible mo sila erul rak e uktesa se motela tegid level ra Mars. Ding malmal marela meling kadulom tigisin anda kadilom teeba sel rela 2016 mo 18 na dun teeba e din nakal web. Madanam tingin mo sing ang bab mametor manggadalom tei. Leng di lagi mo asray ni tasum di 23 blay ay gim test 19 na moltel el mal muira se magasay. Example aral mel ang average ng lateral. Let's say 20 mo bula $50. Aral dak include suwer. Nanya baby like ay del blay gim test el hara 50 cents. Ra 1 month. Mga sum din net 19 el blay gim test di hara 50 cents o egal 5,000 o kya kara balur bela aral na. Ngapay beto ra metor kita mlan nga lakra o kodel ra. Manguling partner ra mel angal mo maara. Makto sa 1,000 el metor. Amom teege ako teege gi plan test kung simla mo makasay mo sa del mesa segidel. El basen tra Marcel medio e abrela madiga malmol. Dice el presentator lang mo o tige ito kukura klung ilaw do al gim mo ulta kas edit talra gim tel rogoy. Ngado ko betalra ka dim ge ko gidel ng dakal kloa amogera ral masuwer.
Torwal makamadangel wase. Amiter tial amayong aklokli, right? E kung charge nga ka 1,200 a month. That's too much. Ang mlo sabi will help para nga ka sewer. Hindi ko din lulwas, hindi ka sabi will help para nga tial araral ma. Le olbira ka lula ari lilwas, hindi ka sabi So, gira other olbira ka lula loreng sertial alado. Ikatulong nga siya radyan nga kita raw ko ya other belaw. Hindi ka mukuk adango albulu. Mga artil ang charge ko mamaway sel to kondal nga ring alto metiam lon mo 7,000 na aral martiabla ul makilgol wase something is not right esirabel check ang mirror ko miwa Mars so ikay kita bebira problem Anthony that's why I'm kukira ikal question
mal masaule mal sokolo Obrang asuli kumiyong kikadel at ang arti ko malim kikadel at including the chairman rutektel water utility utilities water and electricity. Dito kodik. One is would you suggest that its house, I guess have their own water tanks? Number two, those treated water. Ako sa I get treated and disposed water. A suggestion was a memo to existing sewer ponds to further clean it from chemical process, so that we don't have a chemically treated water directly to the.
Daga mam sulang hotel kari makmusing agi recommend musing muila the water tank or okyak al diltir the water tank. Yeah. I think ang malde ka kantila mo water tank I'm sure guks el help pra kuk nakal aral memra bekal buil. I think daka tan malira sistema di talgi bodo kari kanya segid tangke madaka el connect el mera public water system. Nguk tiya ka klisa amal monitora quality aral mal ngal sa tanggem. Mang sa ML nga niya system na mga niya obli the water tank ya connect titil nga niya bebir. So daka issue say. Sel hook recommendation girela a sewer plant malbol connect mo rengel all igel mo utel pand dimlang aringi. So adi mo kurat angin nga kalgirel say one ram amle mokte kartel besel plant udom lamok to oringi kot en musen tel di imol plant ako kumal ngwa mal klol utom al sel orior e man ngap kula daw mamlekan til saya abul ma kitrawes edre mo klobul mo mutrawa ice box park adi mo kalmong or mga riptide sa mutrung rabul sel sewer atire kal ongerung mlamo le reach a point mlamo dia da ansing musen sel ral mal domi ringi do sel gikyong domi ringi etrit ringi todo mada bamla modia al meter sel mlurung ulela equipi sel ne target equipi maul dom lamrura plant maul sel dabga urtal el plan te bolora November 2021 ngdam les tobar ogul suwer motmureg el pand le one ra awa mal runguledak musesel seguid el utum nganya wapanda mo deka dos pering mang akuk sedel amutal megegi akuk manyango dol spallel el storage or I don't know one ra par se akuk teka dos ngi di el altaming dak ndamo deka dos pe el pand direge insegalo isak muse since dabga urtal el plant mla morngi ya laboratory gid nganya labor gid nganya adadal ngar sel tester tial suwer el metmu masel suwer el morada bra bekkel sils en dimla kutungir tel presentation di mal segalo isak mo gel suwer el gimot tabdira bekkel sils angar yor sel olgal el equipi am la tergakli mang segalo isak musen daqol tu telela dol sis bringir sel pand el sel suwer el moto morada el anga mitra sel requirement equipi ndrega السؤال اسمه سنديقة كلورين ndيقة كيميكال دول سيس برتيال السوير سيل تريتمنت تريدر الان عمال دي اسئله الطبلو التانغل مال دي داخل زغلي تقرا بلاو بايولوجيكال والدي nganya ungil baiging adom karol elmo manganga igal makita el baiging engel baiging selbol mading sen el ngelt egida mo otto di sel baiging em magrur mo ngul oiti di sel ralm el moto da pa esel ralm I think in sedel ansing musese enganya results asum somil message egida lo ur en sedel lo oltek musen ngil to adrigal di last sel bel top dar ngagi kyong ler sel matalang malal agidrigal mer rulia omsub lo ter klisa tasel top dal suweren tai wangara klungel en lamo en yam lamo bes kadi wal dusa sing semal mangdub ra sel daw bal outsider tag del area magio ba segi del zooming masel map en sharing lo nga QPB mang drigal sel mom nga sel tag del basho al bel top nga suwer once lang alak ikam na almutal mortel di natural double deka paiging ring okay sulam
El asel suwer al moto dara ngamala le Anthony. El asel sugumar soldado amo mrigel amo o filler seigi del area. En ngosisiul basyo al tobdaria suwer al ubeng dia al affecter seg. Sel bolong isra tial ngamla lo bat tial coral al mukuk mo filler seigi del. Seng mo awanay al uben dia wal affecter ngi.
kamam sulang bilu nganya ong mamal mlar soldaw ako komptera PPUC kora mga dadu rar soldaw a torwal mang halipay ka askar ngim ko kora di owais ako kora alda lo banterir
ngila kribe ma asel ela seguid el todo modo que son outfall pipe pues el todo ice box el alta el morsel pulam se bolom te temla ko ngin mom te irogir era bolom ngir sel mo expander sel parkra ice box so kada ba ingal tangatang sa el mo te el mo lege le dos en diffuser sa ringa el mangara endele or omer kertal tagi del outfall age bol mo tumom te irogir el mo tel ko triple ko mangali sula
mal masawla Anthony ma Marson ma triga luliger ager igang amal lungil gel doger makadrogul ngartiang al moklowa de la rungu del wasengara ngaigel longot mokla PPUC الماليسي الساقي الثيمر كده التوتا والواسن keep the lights on and the water flowing. So ngulto ila sagi dalti may kadungoriya kalmara next session ergid ngi tokora dengi ma egel wal talbila la PPUC integrate tokora renewable energy egel tokora wa solar ma ngod albadangela the root tokora dengil da dos alu makmo olangi teramin Mr. Manny Adalbay ngi electric power operations planner mang maskita presentation ngi ilal total.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Manny Adelbai, the EPO planner. So I'm just going to be talking about kind of what's the outlook for the next 10 years for the power systems here in Palau. So just want to start with a little bit of a background. As you know, the grid has been going through many changes in the most recent years. one of the stark changes um, from since 2023 up until 2023, the system has pretty much just been a radial system connecting the power plants. When I say radial, you can think of a bicycle wheel. The center is the center, and then all the lines are like radial lines. And so that's pretty much the traditional architecture of a power system. There's like a central generation, and then there's radial feeds leading out from the central generation. And so when I say it's a radial feed, the Mulga power plant, the Mulga power plant has a single line connecting it to the IRA substation, and the IRA substation has a single line connecting to Imaleague, and then Imaleague going north is a single line. So if you lose any one of those lines, you split the power plants. That's what I mean by before 2023, it was a radial system. And then in 2024, we had the introduction of the IPP solar plant as well as the bus stop junction. This was really significant in terms of system architecture because it added a loop. It added a redundant line between two of the power plants. And so it looks like this. Mulga power plant and substation is connected with one line to IRI with one line to bus stop junction. But the difference that happened here was from bus stop junction to Imaleague, there's two lines that are connecting it. So if you lose one side of the one line, you can still route power to the other side. And that's what I mean by a redundant circuit, and that's what I mean by a loop. You have two lines connecting the substations. And so when we first connected bus stop junction, there was a power outage on the northern line between Imaleague and bus stop junction, and the power plants did not break because we had an additional line that connected the power plants and kept them in sync and together. And so that was a big change. And then we also added the solar farm and to kind of address the renewable energy targets that we're mandated to address. And so talking about the IPP, it's funded by the Australian Infrastructure Financing Facility for the Pacific. They're the primary funding source with the Solar Pacific Pristine Power as the EPC contractor. Just a quick highlights, it's a 15 megawatt solar PV plant with a 12 megawatt hour battery. And it's supposed to give us up to 20% renewable energy in terms of energy usage. So this is a big change in our system. Our peak load is around 14 megawatts, and the PV panels are more than the peak load. So it's a really big system for Palau. I think that is a significant point. So that's how it looks like from the air. Yeah. Many panels. The other addition in 2024 was a bus stop junction based in Imaleague. So let's see. So when you looked before bus stop junction, there was a line connecting IRI straight to Imaleague, and then Imaleague going up north. And they actually there was a point like when you are driving on the compact road and you turn into Imaleague at that bus stop junction, those two lines are physically next to each other, but they're electrically separate. And so what we did is we put a bus stop junction there that connected them and that point. The purpose of that is so that before the bus stop junction and then after the bus stop junction, the power would go from Koksai and it can go straight to the load center in the south without having go to Imaleague and then back to the same point on the map. And so that reduces our transmission losses. And having that bus stop junction there, it also increases the reliability that our solar farm can get to the load center in the south without any sort of interruptions in between Imaleague and the bus stop junction. And so the next big thing was in 2025. We had a connection of the transmission line. The JICA project, which has just recently completed, they installed a new transmission line running from Malagal substation in the south all the way up to Koksai in the north. And what that did is that created another loop in between the in the southern part. So if you lose the line between Malagal and IRI substation, Malagal is still connected to IRI substation by going through the loop. And so when you lose a transmission line, you don't lose any service to the substations. which is important because we're moving all our customers to the substation connections, so that this means that if you lose a transmission line, you don't lose there's no power outage that is experienced by customers once we're complete with this. And that's a significant point. Right now, about 3 weeks ago, we had an outage on the I'm League to IRI line. And no one, prior to 2023, if we did that, that would have been an island-wide outage. But 3 weeks ago, we had that same fault happen, and no one knew about it because we didn't lose power to any customer. That is the significance of having a loop, having two redundant lines to every single substation. And so that's what we have right now. So before before you have this radio system, let's see. On your left, there's a radio system where there's only one line connecting the substations. And now in the southern Bobble Dub, we have two loops. We have a loop between Imelig and Bus Stop Junction, and then we have a loop from Malagal to Koksai, down to Bus Junction, and down to IRI substation. So that if we lose any line on any one of those loops, we can still maintain our power to all the substations. And this has greatly reduced our number of outages, as well as the time to recover from any sort of outages that does affect customers. So that's up until today. And then this is the picture that we want to do in 2035. If you can see that we're going to pull another line into Malagal from Malagal substation. Right now, the JICA line runs past the IRI substation, but it doesn't actually electrically connect to the IRI substation. We want to pull that line into it, so we have a loop between Malagal substation and IRI substation. Then we'll have that loop on the south, the loop in Imelig, and then we will put an ESR substation and connect that one to the north in Garard. So then there will be a loop system in the north. This is significant because what this will accomplish is it'll provide the same sort of stability and reliability that the people here in the south today experience in the north. And this is important for development of Palau because the first prerequisite of having development is stable power. And so we will have stable power in the north once we complete this. And we make this the transition to having another loop system. So if any section of the northern loop goes out, we can still route power to the other side, and only that section of the transmission line will be down, and it won't affect any distributions feeders. And so how are we going to do that? With our system control, this is all about the substations. We're going to be upgrading the substations, adding NESAR substation, pulling in the 34 into the IRI substation, and redoing Malagal substation. So a lot of upgrades to the substations. We've already done most of the transformers. We're going to upgrade, add some other transformers, replace other transformers so that we can have really strong redundancy in our transformers as well. For our power distribution, the main thing here is changing out the bare wire conductors into insulated. This was one of the first steps that Japan did back in the 70s, and they have gotten down into world-class outage interruption duration metrics. Like they're in like the single-digit metrics, as opposed to our goal, which is around 200 minutes per year. So that's 3 digits. Tokyo, they're in about 5 or 6 minutes per year. What that means is that in Tokyo, the average customer experiences 5 minutes of outages in a year. That's what that means. For us in the Pacific, our goal is that the average customer experiences 200 minutes of outages per year. And when we started in 2023, our actual was over 2,000 minutes per year. So that gives you perspective on what the significance of changing this is. So when you change it from bare wire to insulated wire, you remove a lot of the outages that were caused by rats, by birds, by snakes covering those insulators, because you will no longer have a very close path to earth. When you see the insulators, they're about 6 inches long, so any animal that's 6 inches long can touch the line and the ground at the same time. And so if you have it insulated, then
you can avoid a lot of these outages that are caused by by animals. And then for our vegetation, we are doing like a really stringent vegetation management system. We've implemented that within the past couple of years, and it's looking very good. And our PDD manager is doing a good job on that. And then we're going to be adding that northern bubble dub transmission loop so that even if we do lose a transmission line, we won't lose any customers. And that is an important aspect of this. And then for our power generation, we're going to continue to maintain our 5 megawatt diesel generators. And then we're going to add a fleet of smaller, more versatile diesel generators, high speed, that can ramp with the solar. And then it'll enable us for introduction and accepting more renewable energy. For the outlying states, we're going to be moving from a dependence on diesel to PV plus BESS with the diesel in support. And so the issue with the outlying states is we cannot charge the outlying states for the additional costs that are incurred with having them staffed, as well as sending out fuel out to the outlying states. We're not allowed to charge them more than any customer here, and so that results in core bubble dub grid customers subsidizing the outlying states. So if we can make less money that we need to spend in fuel over there, and we can do it by installing our PV and BESS, then we can reduce the cost of generation for outlying states. Oh, sorry. BESS. BESS is a battery energy storage system. So when we talk about solar plus BESS, we're talking about solar that produces renewable energy, and then you store it in the battery. BESS, battery energy storage system. Sorry about that. Thank you for the catch, Director. And so pretty much, this is kind of an overview of what we're going to be doing. Right now, we have the two main loops, Imalik Bus Stop Junction and the Southern Loop. But within 10 years, we're looking, our goal is to have 4 loops for the transmission system, and then to really increase the reliability up in the north to promote development. And this is kind of a rough estimate of how much we're going to be needing from the baseline of 2025, roughly about 40 million over the course of the next 10 years. That's all for me. Thank you.
Haringa kora gerel mora manira era the mobile mora next session.
Mani wangarak tungela solar power compensator at diesel power. Those pia solar power mo supplementa power mo at diesel power outage output. Malwak mo waklo yung aral power solar power compensator diesel power
Yeah.
operation.
Thank you. So
Wala ko get chairman you know, if you're using solar power, you're getting free from the sky. I see. When you compensate, you're getting free power and you're charging us. That's why I'm asking this question. Sulang.
Yeah. So the IPP, the system is designed to provide a minimum of 20 gigawatt hours of energy to the grid. Our consumption is around 90 gigawatt hours. And so that's why we're saying it, we're expecting it to give us 20% of our energy to the grid.
So you should give us a 20% break in our billion system. Right, Chairman?
No.
No?
Come in. Sorry. So let me explain this. So right now we use diesel, right? But you
Yeah.
cannot use diesel to power your TV. You cannot use diesel to power your
Yes.
AC.
Yes.
You have to have equipment to pull the energy out of diesel and put it in. Diesel is just a storage. So the sunlight that you come is just a medium of the energy coming to us, and we cannot use sunlight. to power ACs, to power motors. There has to be some sort of equipment that changes that energy to usable energy.
Okay. That's a very good question. The consumers are ignorant about those things. So if you explain nicely, we won't complain our power charges. So, you guys know all these things and you don't explain to us, the consumer. So we question ourselves. Why are you charging us so much and then you taking this free power from the sky and you charging us the large amount of charges? That's my question. Thank you.
The question is for Bubble Dub sewer treatment plant. Should we continue to go on septic tanks for the Bubble Dub families? Or do you have plans to build the sewer systems in, say, 3 states to 1? Or because it's kind of expensive to bring pumping stations all the way from there all the way to Koror. That's a question I pose. Maybe the next speaker will. Thank you.
Aigal sa ila di imol system ra sewer outside ra aside from the core sewer system amal kayo. And then I believe a lot of these kung madiagim drive a decision ra mula sa state mo sewer or blah, blah, blah. I think it relies heavily on maybe a joint or a partnership ra aigal state or YQPB, of course aigal environmental agencies ay kita giril driver sa decision mo sa tamo spare. So and then if they do then kusen sorry mo sewer, then perhaps ito matiin mer ko sa kami sa tan so mo sewer kabem really asadi magrada sistema mo make sense tel volumam. So I think the decision making would come from those other agencies. Kung madagim necessarily driver sa the decision ra. So agiukti maybe implement, maintain, operate. Yeah. So sulang ikelmang may igang.
Ali malungil tutaw. Subes hindi kal ngari kang mic. Balungil tuta ngirturong kau manurap. Akti kalau misra uurde ng artiang eklubil al amlamrael. Kuman sulang staff ra PPUC. Kadang artial subject tra solar akmani nga sulil lamani ra malungil presentation ringi. Akriga is somewhat technical. Sokal mo nangi Manilo say does the solar farm does it only work with the grid or can it supply power to the grid when Aimalik and Malakal power plant are off?
Great question, Senator. So the system is set up to be grid following, which means it must have a voltage signal from the grid in order to be online. This is a safety thing because traditionally the systems were small. And so if you think of a rooftop solar, you don't want the rooftop solar to be injecting when you've shut down the grid for maintenance. You can kill people that way. And so that was the original thinking, that it would always be rolling with some sort of support. And if we lose the voltage signal from the grid, it would shut off.
I see. Thank you. So on any given sunny day, you have solar power being injected to the grid, and excuse me, and the initiative is to deliver that solar power to the customers, right? Because you're paying for that power from the solar company. What happens to that power that's injected to the grid when the grid goes off? Does it become an expense?
Oh, okay. Yes. So if the grid is not available, then that is PPUC risk. We take the load risk. IPP takes the resource risk. So yes, we have the system. The IPP is structured on a take or pay for bankability purposes. So if the system is not available and the IPP could have generated, then they would be charging us for the energy that they could have generated but didn't bring into the grid. The we had certain aspects on that we can claim 100 hours worth of maintenance work for that time during the daytime.
Okay, Sulang Emani, I guess the gist of what I'm trying to say is, and I didn't hear this in your presentation in your 10-year outlook, is how do we become efficient enough for the next 10 years so that the power that is absorbed by the solar company is effectively delivered to the customer?
So the Anthony had discussed about the AIFFP grant that brings in a new extension of the battery. So it's an extension of 20 megawatt hours, and that is going to capture if the grid is not available or the load is not available and the IPP could have generated. Right now, they just curtail it, and then they charge us for the curtailment. But once we get the battery in place, instead of it being curtailed, it goes into the battery, and then when there's load available, it'll export, and so that will capture that curtailment that we would previously be paying.
I say, but in theory, you're trying to capture and store what is not being delivered. So I'm going to use a layman's example, saying if you have too much water in your house and you have a leaking pipe, you want to store that water so you don't lose it. But what happens when that storage is full? You're still going to have an overflow somewhere. So what I'm saying is, I think the idea of having a BESS is a great initiative. Okay, we should have that. But I want to hear PPUC's approach towards grid efficiency. Try to have, efficiency benchmarks or targets that mandates the people at the supervisory level to manager's position to make sure that you're keeping your outages to a minimum to decrease this overflow, if you will, because the power that you pay from the solar company, whether you put it through the meters of the customers or not, they will still pay. So it is our job to make sure that we deliver this power to the consumers. So they're paying for what they get and not pay for what they don't get. Sulang Amani.
Thank you, Senator. So first, when we talk about curtailment, it means that it wasn't generated. If the solar farm kept generating and injecting into the grid, what that does is it raises the voltage and it speeds up the frequency. And so we can't actually have this water overflowing concept because they have to stop it because there's a certain range that we can only operate within a certain voltage range or with a certain frequency. If they start injecting more, it increases both of those, and that would be outside of the limit. So what we tell them is stop producing, right? And so that is, if they could have produced 60 kilowatt hours and they only produced 40, there's 20 that wasn't generated, but they can say, hey, they had the capability of generating those 20 kilowatt hours. So that's kind of the first point. Like, if they, and I think you're right. Since they could have generated 60, but they only generated 40, they bill us for that 20 in curtailment. And so how do we stop that? The one that you're pointing out is the outages. If there's outages, there's less load for them to service, and so if they cannot service it, then they charge us in curtailment. That is actually a relatively minor sliver of the amount of energy that we're paying in curtailment. The majority of the energy that we're paying in curtailment is not because of outages, but is because we don't have enough load, right? And so what I had said at the beginning is that this is a 15 megawatt peak solar farm, and our peak load is 14, right? And the solar has to operate with diesels online, so then you have to take out 5 megawatts on that. And so at the very peak of our generation during the daytime, they can only service about 5 to 7 megawatts of our load, and they're generating 12. And so that's 5 megawatts of curtailment per hour that we have to compensate for. The outages are relatively small, but then we have a benchmark in the Pacific of our target is 200 hours of outages average customer, right? And that's what I had mentioned. We're looking to see how we can learn from the Japanese, because they are reaching single digit minutes per year for an outage. Like the average customer in Tokyo experiences 5 minutes of outages in a year. For us, we're around 2,000, and our benchmark is 200. And I think we're approaching that now. We're around 1,000 or 1,200. And so we're getting better at that. So if we can make our grid more available, then we can be able to service them more, and there will be less of that concern about not having load available during the outages, so that we can kind of defer the curtailment payments. I think Anthony also had something else he wanted to say about that.
Sulang mani aktir di mutular nga sulam senator ang tiang atapir gedel rokol adan dangali. So agel selgri la senatora o ko hape kulkol to ka timulkol to ka bela ling kam le kamang la azu mahenjira mani to ka bar. So sa nga mani ak musumal klaw amaterel sel azu anak musunganya klol amatera dengil tober sel solar sel lotobdi digida dim ara adi sedel lotugura adi talgibringi. Hindi under tel contract kita kita harar ngil rogir. So ngarang adorur ngir el time mus mukara dangu segidel mukara bol sebe edel ngu tel rogir el solar el selo tabdira bekal sils mang mas el sel daguk ngari langir turong mang tel ara dengi amo klor ngi apa ngara solar guk biota aral tel alu do balom karta dengi. So sada balik tel udor la manya lu esek mo tel klungel ngal السولار الغرا قوكساي سي ذاك التقل قدروا غويا ملامو ميسان سي والي ذي سل 15 التراجن فيلد كلونيل سيد الشاسين لو اوتي 15 التراجن فيلد سولار غرا قوكساي غرا اولم لو وايس كلونيل تلو را دبل اليرا 2019 يا روغول بيدير امني سبميتا بروبوزال ارتيرا 2020 Masira dali tiang kita manyo subedra 2018 2019 adu sa dengier el altama di continue meral morbab ma 2025 mla mo deka dangara 14 megawatt nigel el alier dangara 17 18 megawatt maula klungel sel solar el ang awal bel rule el girel lo ba dengil mro serngira wak se klungel dengi mang wagoy sida klungel se a ongerung a kida el altime ngara let's say ngara ogwal alsal ngarba ngara ogwal basent resegid el dengi adungu auna 60% ra dengil dogardi sel solar adungu ya 40% sigid el amater so magara do basel medio so aulum loklo amater kama sagi mo sa do tutital project tamlel de sodak museng dial bekal siseng trill generator amrael kida amne soda dibol one el generator e solar armurto mungmal mo garel lu adoba en دي سنة 2024 2023 مقدول 2024 الأمنارية تلا البويل نارية أيوة البويل الجيم نص هذا المقادير أي مليك ذن جيبوا من ديا على أورال سأمنا عرسي أورنج سأونغ دي تال ملاقال ما سولار أمرا لك مرة ذنجي مملة ونجيل قبل ده سال اللي تأطول تيان أحكمنا سين سيل نارني يام تمال أماني ملقي بإكسامبل را 3 weeks ago إن نارني يام تمال سين إن دمنا قال كده نع أوريور ما يراد دمنا قدول أسوان عملوا قلت أطول سيل ديوان الديسير السولار الروجير أمرايل ngungil maral sel da kasubi rasing engding mal diwan al tel malela seng asubi egele guklad galed al malang ertial sengek musong nganya silbi irsay mung open mung gukti mad se de al mad tiang amo de galungil maral lege ol tuil rasel guk ablagar delela dengil mangara alu mablagar delela dengil mangara solar angod agel guklad galed al ngara gal bekkel substation ma dengi basira aguk mudu ul munguyur Ersel blagar de la dengira de ser. Masel de lim di mawana de ser close solar. En modiagal I oyui say maktel malela dengira let's say ngara ngaram lungui. Ama amel mogodira dengibu masa 2024 ng amlo 6 ng 7 الماذا بلور بلا روجير. ما أقولن سيد التايم ngara 2,000 minutes 1 year. Was it that's Saidi, right? Sel experience كده الغدة دنجي ما ضمن لك ملسة إيه أقول كده الحرارة تجيب الكلو دي تجيب البولسوف experience ده قاعدين ماذا دنجي الوايسي ما أقول لهم لو ده قاعدوا مقارنة one generator ضمن لو مس إيه ده رايل طول generator السولار اللي بقى لو متقرن الأونية ذي دين تجيب المكلو هذا حرارة نيل سولار so سيدا ينجد رموخت مقلة تبلو البلان قط البلان development تربيلا ومن تلقيب ده الغاب المربع من طيب الصورو ممكن مثلا ده سيد المني أذونيرا development الموت المس المهيتر سيد ال 17 تلا الميجا وات من مسألة الغولي تل دنجيل روجير إن الأعمال ميو ده كده أوارم الحرارة يعني ما ضمن لهم أذور أسألي در أستراليا مغنيا دريغل غنيا ألت أذور لهم قال أي ذي بيل دريغل التوب درا وان را جرانت ممونيا إكسترا الباتري الألسيد سكتول أي شركة أستراليا اللي ملام التقوي يجمع أيل شاسين من المسا غير بورت رغم لا لان يغضل نقط المورا قصر إلى التان تلقوك إذا بيل الذو أذيك الذو دي تملا تلقى كليك مثلا أجي مال سوام الهيل برغميو دي لقى الباتري سيل فولورال روغوي الموضوع ذو صادرة ذو سبيرا 60% سيل سولار مس إذا لو كلورا 95% الذو الجي ما بعلم قال أستراليا مس سيل فولورال تل باتري أكتوبر أغسطس الألير seguido el 40% algún amateur el dengue among ariora 10%. Si dengue aguk mangal maungil arala dengue. Ebol gum maungil al dadu kita ma EDB malger dengue aguk ongeru el battery el dollar ngil grant. Enya mos edel mada meter ogir el solar mong mos pa edel mo gigre el lu ado spering. Elang diga marail au relam mos mgarad li mo modiag el eru tablo el masil amrail. دي او اسوم صد البول ديوان المسيل or even تشيرول المسيل المورترا سلم تملا سلم اللوم سنة دي الا سيلز ان دي دي الباتري ذو سبي دي قال كده قوك ما تاي قاعده كلد غلد نرا سب ستيشن مو قوك مو او كلال المذوق الملان ارتيال بلغر ذليل قوك سولار اللي مسي كده الدا ذو اذريق المرايل لا قال غفرمنت استراليا او مسوبه مرايل ابو دغل تناتك سد نكسير قوك ستارت لوم تاي من مسي قوك مو هيلبر تيال arala solar es el 10-year plan al manim le sharing ya mo msader sayid mgrad ngo 2000 minutes rabek kal ragal outage mgrad ngo mo 200 migigid el tul ro amrar el anding wal يعني على أمل نمر مع الأذى دين من سؤال سيدة غرة طيب الأم السوداء المرة أقول ملو ويسي يعني راه ضروري التايم اللي بال مسألة المال ممل أسوار يقول كلونيال يجيب لهم براميس بسهولة
Manuel Tutao kuman sulang ang atra PPUC. Tial adi malmal tilger el mora chairman belel. Tia masada ngani sa statement tra PPUC tilo bad direk loreng seringi ra direk namir olbil. Ratora rooftop solar sel toko ak mura sing tirigel direk ngara solar asap satay sa tirigel ngara solar. Kam ko ratuli ka kita statement. Pelukul saya kita statement. Tirigel ngara rooftop solar. Al-Okyak. Tirigel dia ngara rooftop solar asap saday sa tirigel ngara rooftop solar.
Ngabsulang tral statement. O isel tiala oram na discussion sera early 2020. Emram na waisay man nga ako ra kalatulo sa PPUC kila net metering act. Yakap na sa rooftop solar. And dul mas ruam na issue mulwa si mal takay tirgal nga ra takalaw solar. Wa nga ka nga solar ablik. Nding nasuma ngani adok ta ka solar ngi ingya harak low. Yang nga ka harak yakray. So subsidize. Issue ra net metering act ako adim na take into consideration na agel work services malubang ko ra cost related cost lubang adengi to spertal solar el installer nga rooftop benefit niya awngil mo ra ukya kung ginot dia excess mo ra PPUC. So, same na issue tarata, if I can put it in that concept. Kailangan na move forward. Agila tolo sa al Miguel Adra PPUC, kadam sa grid upgrade, batokol udon mabutmok lil modernize our infrastructure. emerma ka battery double battery imo nga solar sa nga tinid mo ra tel oxide more cell solar farm rin ng RSA na imo nga kita nga so pinggala ADB tel Asian Development Bank mo siya gira imo ra battery imara PUC ang overall sa tablol solution amo really take the issue ra rooftop solar mo mute amo da ka sam sa net metering act kabay mo sa sing makara da tenure tel renewable energy pathway ebal mo lo si al other but nga solar rooftop partir e dahil nga nga turong agal battery agya the charge so da gagi the rooftop solar metal lagay the IPP egal solar farm el incheck tadengi municipal tel battery el may charge msa klabsay en sedro spe el kuk makyo da egal generator do on kung nga solar elang sulko ni Anthony kung hindi mo nga 5 PM kuk on atra generator ngome sa nga 8 o'clock klabsay e kaviga nga battery e makyo do tel kurakle la generator so bad sila senator say del umaklat ka sa statement kadabra mo dim sa the rooftop solar the Kumral was we've taken giant steps forward. The battery energy storage system, BESS, that's could be one solution to even though we have many problems at PUC, they say the one solution and umasaging mo solve at net metering act ma any concern of future girela rooftop solar. So lang.
Hali, dik follow up parcel. Kada dire kalom das surtir kal off the grid el okya kal mlam bostar tel kora amral mo botto korbelaw. Egel system ertir angari batteri ertir. Mato spera batteri, eservol mi tuta batteri a PPUC at mul mel ngasew. Seguida system lang aral sel. Tel do spare ngil al rooftop a obang a power lo balom sa PUC. Ya PUC giral madami sel power el moral sel batteri o holder ngi misal bolo spare ngi o spare ngi. Ak pagi klesay gi dal sugumong batokol batnya lablay alay gan na motril generation. Arnya diesel ngari tial solar national solar git ngari rooftop. Ay nga tril system el moral motmur tial grid gerak masya PPUC marang al manage sa sige power. Magarang al bingi sel power el ngun sa okya kal ni fair price. Resel do sa rooftop pre lang yung aktel gibel bigi kringi lang private company oriol lo gelabang ma customer. Maadal mega money ang get private company lo ba solal malar ginablim abang ka mega ududel ng meskalon ar okyak amara agregal rate itrigel dia kal ngara grid a subsidized system. Mga agay kita kimwes sa maun mga agyoger tiang oger mas makarang on balance self power lega trill patingin na power and mortal grid akong dasungar aliw giril solver sa kita issue lang. Ala kal adrablu adi malamol mel harara flow especially nga kal dia ngara solar awal force nga kal kung gira kal mo solar al sumun sa kal mo harara gyakarel dengi. Dil sumo kal mo solar beklaf entamo harar tial ku ngar la PUC ra diesel generation. Siya kita ako ra elephant in the room hindi kal kita masadar ngi.
Adik follow on sila again statement ta chairman senator sulara malungi kira adik ko tuluula kung dasun di kal it's not fair or alubing malmal ta sa skuma kula siya our non-rooftop customers are subsidized our rooftop that's not true our rooftop
hal tiang amle statement ra PUC tilo bodo magyul ba sa kita statement
did we make that sense?
So the statement in reference sa net metering act, sa kung look sa net metering act, ngira da mutal perspective tatora subsidize statement regarding net metering act le ong tila PUC amle seltama ol ngitra ol bile se kami sa net metering act we have nothing else to go on dimle rooftop solar ma diesel generation digam na start al adol gira la agitale IPP independent power producer so sa statement in relation to a net metering act concept dakal ngirogil tora PUC akmula sa subsidize. Kada ukti nga sa idol tora net minangakte senator long tila PUC sa idol tamil masetya nga lagi dal mo awa mamesal la gut makli mansel kuk favor a PUC mansel okya kal nga kal low solar dak haraw maintenance cost or any fixed cost or service cost associated kuk madengira abana mura solar tiyang deklam na issue kadamil sa rate making process emlong ani tukol nga adsel mo so sexual to subsidization ako timora net metering act not necessarily those pairing el ako kailan tamen take the tora battery energy storage system kaya nga ako mo help alleviate tagay del issues regarding rooftop solar ma agitale diesel generation leng the idea of the concept of kulaseng solar atungol me dobal mora system ra usual time mo kaya ka cheaper it's supposed to be cheaper than diesel generation sila kamit nga
Di lastal malolingit kami ya professionals in mutra orior kada malolingit kami mega recommendation gira la net metering act al sum gira del central la del sum dia al fair en morar okyak atletel tal to ngiri help programa rula la al rulin mo fair en morar okyak men dia kata ta question al beklas sulang
Ang akmo olingit tara Sunil Kanki nga engineer nga engineer in water operations sa PUC most mother isal tara tabavel sel timergi delngia a keep the water flowing makara taberal malolmal maldi maraelo
Ali, good morning, everybody. My name is Sunil Konki. I am the wastewater operations engineer, and it's been about 2 years that I'm working with PPUC and serving the wastewater operations division. So today we will be, sorry about the typo there. It's a wastewater operations and it's not waste or water. I'm sorry about that. So going into the slides, I have like 15 plus slides, but I'll make sure that I keep it simple and short. Today I will be discussing more about the operations point of view and the challenges that we are facing and the improvements that we are taking up, and also whatever the sustainment and challenges related to the operations, I will be discussing more into that. So we all know about the sewage. It's the wastewater from our homes, our sinks, the laundry, the shower, bath, and the toilets, and also from the commercial spaces. So these are all being collected from the pipes and the equipments to the nearby manholes and transferred to all the sewage to the treatment plant, which is at the Malakal, which is a newly built facility. So everything that comes from the commercial activity, we treat it as a trade waste, and which contains more chemicals and fats and also the metals. So these are all being carried through the sewer slopes downwards towards the sewage and can be transported to the nearby pumping stations with the gravity flow. So all sewage is collected in Koror, is sent to the Malakal sewage treatment plant, which is being pumped and sent it through the gravity sewers. The next slide, this is the overview, the map about the Koror sewage system. We have like two sewage systems. One is Koror and also one is Melekeok sewage system. So I'm more focusing on the Koror sewage system. We have like about 42 pumping stations, which we call in WCS, that's wastewater collection systems. So all these pumping stations are across the hamlets, everything connected to the nearby manholes, and all the sewer is being pumped to the pumping stations, to the laterals, and into the main gravity sewer main, which will bring it to the SPS1 and SPS2 that you can see near to the Malakal wastewater treatment plant, which are our main interceptor pumping stations, which are under rehabilitation as of now as a part of the CAS project. And all this sewage from across the hamlets are being brought into the main interceptor pumping station. One is SPS1, which is close to the Minatabashi Bridge, and SPS2, which is in Malakal across the port area. So those are the main interceptor stations which I'm calling. So we will be pumping from there to the Malakal wastewater treatment, which is near to the icebox part. So this is the typical sewage pumping station. As I mentioned, we have like 42 pumping stations. And this is how each pump station looks like. That's the pump house, which has these control panels and pump controls inside. So this is exactly what we have with reference to the problems in the sewers. We have like old system, already a 50-year-old system that we are already using it. And each system has like cracked pipes, broken pipes, and also collapsed pipes. So all these are leading to, rehabilitation, meaning we have to repair all the time and make sure that these are always functional so that everything is carried to the sewage system. So the blockages are happening because of the grease buildup and also the foreign objects that are coming into the pumping stations. So we will be having our operations team who will be always regularly cleaning our pumping stations, checking, making sure that the pumping station doesn't have any blockages. If there is any blockages, we will get reports, so we will take care of those issues. So we have root infiltrations and bellied pipe issues, which are also being taken care of. Root infiltration happens because of the nearby trees growing near to the pumping stations, which actually intrudes the roots into the piping section. And what causes the overflows? The overflows are caused because of the pump failures, mainly mechanical failures and also the electrical failures. And also, if there is any broken pipe, the sewer cannot be brought into the pumping station. In between, the manholes will be overflowing. So that is also one reason. So this is our team on a regular basis, maintaining our pumping stations, and our supervisors and supervisory team go about each pump station to look about the pump conditions. You can see to the left of the slide, there is a pump with a lot of rags attached to that will be always cleaned up and make sure that the pump doesn't stop because of the foreign objects stuck onto the discharge end. So you can see that our team is near one of the pump station here, where they are working on the wet well, trying to restore the problem that we have with one of the main pumping line, which is all corroded, and we try to fix the issue by clamping it. And also you can see to the left of the slide, check valve chamber, where all the check valve chamber is like mostly corroded. So we have these all sections always having issues. So we keep on maintaining this facility. So like that, we have 42 pump stations. So we will be handling on a daily basis. We have a routine team handling these issues. So we also have a team doing, that's also including me, all the purchasing of the pumps and the equipments required for this all activity to go on smoothly on a daily basis. So you can see the project requirements, some of the pipes and pumps, and also some electrical components and devices that we have already stocked for our activity. So this is also the slide which is explaining about some of our equipments and pumps for the plant. That is a treatment plant at Malakal. And this is the slide discussing about the plant overview. This is our newly constructed Malakal wastewater treatment plant at Malakal, as you can see. This was constructed in the year 2021, commissioned in 2021, and the contractor has been operating it for until 2023 end. And in 2024, PPUC has taken over, and we've been doing the operation since then. So I'll just give you a quick roundabout on this, the plant overview. You are free to come to visit us, but the sewer smell is little awkward maybe, but I would recommend you guys come meet me. I will be, if you look at the picture, I have all labeled them with numbers. So the one is the entrance, and the second point is where the control building where I will be sitting at, and the laboratory also, the testing facility is also in that same lab in the building. And like that, we have a transformer, we have a generator, standby generator. When the island power is cut off for some reasons, we have a standby generator. And the section where I'm wanting to emphasize is the number 5, where all the inlet works are, like all the main activities happening, where all the sewer is entering into the treatment plant. So that is where inlet works is present. And you have a septic screen, main screen that is separating all the waste from the sewer, and rags and other clothing. I mean, whatever the sewer is having, it will be separated in that section and being sent it to our main inlet sump, which is having pumps to pump everything into the 7 and 8 section, which are like basins. You can see SBR basin 1 and SBR basin 2 in the number 7 and 8. So from 5, it will be all sent to the 2 basins that we have for the treatment. So this is the facility where all the treatment is happening. So in this treatment process, we have equipments like blowers, belt press, sludge conveyors, air compressors, polymer dosing unit, and also, as I mentioned, inlet pumps and supernet pumps, switchboards, transformers, and process control panels. So I will show you all those images in the next slides. So basically in these 2 basins, everything is, the flow is actually directed into these basins for the treatment activity, and everything is treated in a batch wise. So each basin will have 4 hours of time for the treatment to happen. In these 4 hours, we have every phase, like, taking up the sewer into it, and then putting into filling and reacting, and also doing all the decanting and all that stuff. So this is the main area where all the equipment components are located. So I'll go into the next slide for your overview. So that is the main screen I talked about. And that's where all the rags and everything will be separated from the sewer. And the next to the right is the main inlet pump section, where 3 pumps are installed and they're working. So each pump acts like a duty pump, assist pump, standby pump. Everything is electrically connected, and they will be controlled by the variable speed drives, which actually is very costly equipment. And we have the blowers up there, 3 blowers, which are also electrically driven, and all the blowers actually send air into the reactors for all the biological reaction process. This is not chemical treatment plant. This is all biological process. So then everything after the process is done, the decanters will decant the separated treated wastewater into the outfall chamber and back into the ocean. So there are mixers also in between the center of the basins, which are electrically driven. These mixers actually have a propellers which will drive the water for the mixing activity. And then next slide has the sludge pump. That's the sludge pump at the bottom of the basin, which is at a depth of 7 meters. So the height of the basin is 8 meters. And so they are installed the sludge pump at the very bottom. And that is the pump which will pump out all the sludge from the decant from the basin and into the belt press. So that's the bottom to the left is a belt press where all the sludge is brought onto the belt press, and on the gravity table along with the wash box, we will be feeding decant water for the process to remove the flocculation and do the cake, sludge cake to be transported to the landfill. So the membrane diffusers is also one more major component which will be on the bottom of the basin, which is connected to the blower piping, which actually blows air into the basin. And that is where the DO is actually maintained. I mean, DO is a dissolved oxygen. So we will be supplying oxygen to the reactor. So it will actually does the reaction work. So sludge line inclined conveyor is the belt where all the sludge has been carried out into the bins. So that's how the basins, working basins you can see at the bottom. And the top components are the polymer dosing unit and the air compressor for the belt press operation. And this is basically all the wastewater treatment plant equipment and their piping system. And we have our laboratory facility in the control building. And this is our team. She's Kimi, our expert handling all the sampling and testing activity for the treatment plant. So we have some of the ADB consultants so helping us with the process, helping us with the testing. And we have recently rehabilitated our laboratory to accommodate more people to do the testing. So this gives you an overview of our entire facility. This is a new facility, as I mentioned. And then comes to this entire sewage, like I told you in the beginning, we have like 42 here in Koror region, and then we have like 8 in the Melikyok network. So altogether 50 pumping stations, and all these pumping stations are like almost like 50 years old network. And we need to maintain these facilities, and for that we need equipment, new pumps to be purchased every now and then to make sure that everything is running and up and moving. So equipment and structures are currently in most of the cases are in poor conditions. So we are working on trying to reduce that situations. And we are doing all the required purchasing and installation of the new pumps. And we have already started repairing and upgrading of the pumping stations. That includes the SPS1 and SPS2, as our colleague, Mr. Anthony, has already told you guys about. So we have a planning of a refurbishment of Melikyok sewage treatment plant so that we can accommodate more treatment process and more businesses to connect to the Melikyok sewage treatment plant, and also the pumping stations. So this is our goal, like sustainment and improvement efforts. So Malakal wastewater treatment plant, as I mentioned, was commissioned in October 2021 as a part of the CAS project. And this plant successfully meets the effluent quality discharge targets as provided by the EQBB board. And then we have a pumping station upgrade works going on in Koror region. and which actually drastically reduced the energy consumption and also number of uncontrolled sewage overflows. So this leads to our efficiency gain, like PPC response time for system failures and customer work orders with reference to issues. We have reduced our response time to 2 hours. Before it was on higher note, so that we are trying to keep up with as low as possible so that every issue has been taken care. And what are the major challenges in the cost of disposing of sewage? So major components are pipes and pumps, which is everything coming out from outside. So we have machineries and electrical components, and we have more team requirement, and we need to pay salaries for them, and also the maintenance of the treatment plant and machinery, upgrading of SPS, pumping stations, as per the load increase of population within the region. So future focus is to make sure that we scale up our operations and make sure we reduce our downtimes and focus on implementing cost-reflective tariffs, allowing the division to become financially independent. So with this, I would say I finish my main activity. This is all about it. Thank you for your time.
قد الآن قد ملارا تغرى wastewater makada naman dangel mo the flusher sel on flusher toilet tergawin geng more maila kada ngoriak kalmora sel technology and operation masel tora service delivery.
Okay, so my next presentation just shows our direction for water operations and moving forward in the future. So right now, our focus is basically strengthening our foundation, which is improving infrastructure, expanding our monitoring systems. And Anthony presented several major water operation projects that will also help guide and support this direction moving forward. So, but at the same time, there's regional collaboration that's happening right now, which is helping us to learn from the other Pacific countries as well that's facing similar challenges. So we're hoping that the partnerships will also support the development of our data systems and a platform that PPUC can tap into for our shared data and funding and operational upgrade. Okay, next slide. So one area that is improving significantly right now is our operational monitoring programs. So in the past, like I mentioned before, everything is still, well, right now, is still being manually monitored. And we're hoping that this direction will improve this area. So the overall goal is not to have the operations in full automation overnight, but it's about improving one step at a time. My last slide. The future direction of our operations will also depend on how well we combine our infrastructure improvements, our monitoring programs, and our operational data into one coordinated system. So just to summarize, we still have a long way to go, and we're hoping that all of this technology, the SCADA, GIS, remote monitoring programs, they're all going to help us to move in this roadmap for the future smart utility for water operations. That's it for me. Kaya? Sulam.
Okay, kamal misto lang Marson. الآن نرسل الطورة technology غدا موبل مرة Tokora customer service and public relations. Sa langaring karim, sa langaring mandalingya maragira la tokora PPUC more. Sa iki di awal next session ergider elal tutaw.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Kaya Solomon, and I am the Public Relations Officer for PPUC. Now that we've had an overview of the different utilities, I'd like to shift our focus to the customer service and public relations, as customer service plays a major role in public relations because every interaction with the public reflects on the image of the organization. So these are the different, I'm pretty sure everybody are familiar. We are the only utility provider for Palau. But under each utilities, these are the services that we provide. For the electric utility, it provides the generation and electricity distribution. For the water utility, it is responsible for supplying the clean and reliable water to customers. And then we have the wastewater utility, which manages the collection and treatment of wastewater to the public. The business office, this is just a brief slide to show you who is involved with the business office. So we have our business manager, the customer service representatives, and then we have our meter readers who are responsible for collecting all the readings of your meters. And then we have the collections clerk. Okay, moving on to the customer service and public relations. As each utility within PPUC does more than simply provide a service, in addition to delivering electricity, water, and wastewater services, each department also performs ongoing maintenance, repairs, monitoring, and system improvements to ensure reliable, efficient operations for the community. This slide simply shows the general process followed when a customer reports a service disruption to PPUC. The process begins with the reporting of disruptions where customers contact customer service regarding an issue with a power outage, a water interruption, or wastewater concerns. As part of the customer service representatives, we do have our customer service after hours that which happens after the 10 p.m. closing window. So if any issue occurs after normal hours, the after hours hotlines allows customers to continue reporting urgent concerns at any time. During these hotline hours, we only have one customer service representative available. Because of this, the phone line may continue ringing during the widespread disruptions or emergencies. However, we do reassure all our customers that many callers at the same time report the same issue. But we do encourage our customers to follow up with us if the issue continues 20 minutes or more. And then we will immediately recheck the report status and send support if necessary. From there to the utility operations, once the report is received, this information is forwarded to them, where the appropriate department investigates the issue, performs maintenance and repairs, and works toward the restoring service as quickly as possible. During the major disruptions or important updates, this is where I come in. Public announcements are shared to keep customers informed about outages, restoration progress, safety notices, and/or service updates. Reports are then documented to track the issue, and then actions are taken to improve our response time and service reliability for future disruptions. Public relations continues to work toward improving communication and ensuring important information shared with the community through announcements, social media updates, outage notices, and public outreach efforts. And it goes for the community. We do encourage that you guys do play an important role for our company, helping us provide better and more reliable services. We do encourage our customers to report any problems with disruptions, leaks, outages, or any other concerns you may have regarding our company. By working together, maintaining open communication, we can continue to improve our services. Lastly, I do want to put out there that next week is the anniversary week for PPUC. As you can see, we do have a giveaway flyer going around. During the week, next week, we do encourage our customers to stop by the office and to keep an eye out on our social media page, as we'll be conducting some giveaways throughout the week next week. Thank you.
next session ergid say amal interesting session suado loreng siringil ngi water ma sewer ma electricity rate aral ma wastewater ma dengue.
So mutungum malungil maaswel. Nakamal di koram na mo so that teme makmal di mo quickly go through igal presentations and then I believe we have one more. Paise yeah? Oh yeah. Liam. So kanya one more mo ngingi kung gina kal lor atakam. Sa edad mere mo swel. Okay. As the MC mentioned, a presentation will touch upon the rates or the rate making process. Magukora maybe some history or overview ra tetele la rate PUC over the years. Okay, so of course with all the presentations that's been presented this morning up to now, the namin sa tungkol lang tingin la PUC from projects to future plans na dengi, maral, tungkol technology, of course customer service, billing, all of that comes with a cost. Tungkol billing, there's a system or there's programs that we use to run bills, we use to run our finance modules and stuff. Those all come with a cost. Okay, so how does PUC recover ay cost rim sa malamol continue lom alu urtial ay essential services ay so achieving full cost recovery, as I said, it's essential for maintaining infrastructure, ensure ay rogul lura PUC nga field mga we comply with environment, ma dire public safety street light amutul bebira safety. I can't think of anything else besides street lights. Dire health sanitation asuni lam miskit sa presentation ngira sewage treatment and mal close to tere sanitation ablu bela ko all market tergid ko sa the pristine paradise ending at may loma sewer gid mal talaman la sewage network gid mga loma agi magikyon maral. I don't think we're much of a pristine paradise as kumo wise wa. Okay, so and then of course so that reinvest or tell infrastructure really move forward. Tell ko komeng tingin I don't know if mo yuwagandi elatya kada mamul nga tora arala dengi. So merasel the way we propose rates or come up with rates maldi agigida kada mako tulomu iragel revenue requirement mga niya to operational expense ay either black maldi program malgoy to capital expenditures debt services are wakabel sila PUC ra whether loans or other small lending ay gidapon mo tak and while capture sectoral expense at PUC, and then so with that kadungul mingira ela kadum sa to dengi masagi the klungen expense kadungul mingir sel klungen la dengi PUC mle billering or a billering. Seguido sa lot of these dos en base rate. Ela gida den ko se ala la dengi ang sel base rate ma fuel ma IPP ela al time ang sel base rate fuel ma IPP. Why say bills are kami Okay, may latel do sa rin sa ukto kara base rate. Latel base rate amlo sa amel implement rin sira 20 kung das nga next slide. So anyways, tiam na at least 2 or 3 years dolomon mga tegi do sisil base rate. Tiya basically alala ayagi the rogul toll block bus operating ma capital expense. And then the more sell next among I'm pretty sure dili ka familiar sa toll DER or distributed energy rate sa sel essentially covering the tool sources of energy. So we have diesel fuel rate and al time alala aluuda dola it's on an invoice basis. I'm pretty sure other nga tiyan miklola dili ka familiar sa mle afpa kara before. Elan na mo di ka tangar segid di ka malmol malom ara aluulay kal generator gid which in segid diesel fuel rate nga bill. And that's on an invoice basis, usually sale prior 2 months consumption. I mean, prior 2 months well top say the fuel rate. And then we move on to solar rate or the IPP rate. It's also on an invoice basis that is provided to us by the solar IPP. May the three element to make up ralatengi. Okay? So kaldi mo tiya daita yung gora arala dengira blur belaul compared to blur tahe I mean tahe yo. So as you can tell sagid pagkarkar the line mo nga maldi mo limira ma selbebula pa gidel belaw. And then sel domes ang medal angara maybe 6 el blur tahe yo ngario arala dengir tirgid. Ya maybe budula luy bulwa telgib ngarba bergid. So we're doing okay, I think. So maybe I leave that up to you guys and decide. Okay, hindi. Anyway, Sayid, yeah, that's where we stand in the Pacific in terms of electric rates. Okay. Okay, so kaldi oti electric rates over the years. Kadamura tingul bakal mo January 2018. As you can see, Sayid, kagid ko orange. Se aral alu falan trend aral alu agil aral alu impose a PUC and then seguid the blue seguid cell base rate seguid cell mo mesring mera 21 ibro ng trigib mas seguid cell last cell dore cell base rate mangi last el mochero 50 at yagid al flat el mera lang el dosis se we try to do that every 2 to 5 years ako may o mesra klungala cost operation regi the yang move to reevaluate the cell base rate. And then sa lumabas sa the blue line ng ngarbal merio se ilang walo oti sa the start el receiver invoice cell IPP. As you can tell ang sa the gray line and meral mo maldi nga yung ngal malamaw sa yung the base rate. Eli agida ko tariff trend PUC over the years. Sa the lumabas mo se so far at IPP it's flat line di sal domestic wa alu morbabe merio of course seguida ultura ara la abulula the determinant rate seguida. Okay, so I'll move to go into more of the DER cycle. As you can okay. So to your seguida lugotel nga left tergid the expenses as I mentioned mang sila seguid el ngarba gara solar sa IPP. So sa close seguida el maldi for an example seguida total invoice segi minor IPP and then divider mira klungela kilowatt el bill niya PUC ang kadto ba di seguid el rate ra IPP. Okay, etiario ako alu same method applies kadungwa total invoice tigal fuel vendor segi tigal tra luud engul divider ni segi dele klungela kilowatt el bill niya PUC engul to da fuel ilagay del tool mo da engwa segi del DER rate. Okay, adrut adol lang kaya ko di sample mo kasi skuma okay uluspe 300 el kilowatt eng segi dawa bol al-Arabi ringi and then sa sel ko klunga PUC mal collect ringi mo revenue yung obil mutel maldi mo harar yagi dal invoice ringi and then tel say ko la di malamol malway say pwes kadmal di ma invoice el may Omin mo okyak, aklungan lagi lawat telun nangilar okyak, emrong guk may gigidal madalaw duda de guk harara. So it's a revolving cycle diakal. Okay. Okay. So kadi mo touch up net metering mal dire kal di mered. As we all know, Palau's Net Metering Act, since 2009, okay, Palau's Net Metering Act of 2009, otherwise known as RPP 11-39. Lagi, hindi bila sokal highlight, tagay wablan mo, taga year cell time, 2009 until now. Ela, of course, amle mokte ka rin yawa, the swadal encourage or okay kal mot mura gagi to renewable energy or cell time. Okay? So kita stimulate economic growth, reduce demand for electricity when alternative energy is available. Amutul baby adire kal kudas adire maklo tutel sige din last F, reduce carbon emission and benefit Palau's environment. Masob sige na kamlo mokte kertial la cell time ra al baktabi itial ra 2009. Okay? So within this law, ang dire kal mal mamat na click mula se a PUC makaral credit trigal adal nga rooftop solar. Essentially al sugo makawa ang rooftop system raw overgenerate, meaning tagi ta sample rin iya mas makawa o solar solar ka generate ra 600 kilowatt mo hindi ko luspera 300 kilowatt ra PUC esagil 300 kilowatt ra PUC wadil bol offset ay gel tablolo mo ang okay ka ukti harar sel remaining or comment elang kagi del okya awaya sel remaining solar excess solar a PUC agirel by law by RPPL 11-39 girel harar ngel okya kem ara igel mlo amater el solar at 50% of the current rate. So may last ko nga blal 600 igel 300 ringi mangubot while offset emrong agel med el 300 ta PUC maaringi at half the rate. Okay, lega wal tilura agree ra PUC. El PUC amlo sa el gukmay guk redistribute more okya. Maul mong wal dom aral ngar sa gidel guk method nya makataklir al siltalla. And then guk tabal team okya kal rooftop solar. Adi mangkadara the normal rate ra PUC. Mangkadar cell-based rate, which is ang kagid na artiyang, mangkadar fuel, mangkadar IPP. Maul mang, and to Senator's point, makulas, and then to the audience's understanding, hindi kalsuakal, ang kuramring nakakulas kada tiyakal nga solar while subsidizer tiling mahal blakatakla arala rate ra dengi el gidel bekel okay wa nga kalukya ko solar sa gida karari and karara base rate el sekpi ka takira ulel harara lu ma IPP hindi ka talang tingityal base rate fuel or IPP mo rang gidel adalo solar nga kukmal dim lengil tuwa badal mo ngalo na NDP siga sistema ngi yung ulmel itu tirablile el ang while generate klol dengi sel dengil generator niya kung sa sitial luspe LL PUC mang di mo karara ta kaya sel actual tira PUC kaya adi sige dal harari so sige sel kora mela so kalmo to take that on further chair if I may sel wal kora on tidre LR PUC ako sa medalutel mesa tiang letya as I said 2009 amla kung sa hamle klon mokte kaniya wabla da kadum lateral promoter tial toy dul dubra adal motburi mamle bato kay gidel ngora benefits especially tiagil tokora tial kumama maagiram lom ari perhaps elal time mla kadum la we've gone beyond the silgora to some boomer tial ay solar rooftop systems elang in fact man namo soro tigiya malobli malaigal wal ay last 3 or 4 years I could tell mal lebato ka adal especially with the NDPP programs maram lebato ka oblil maigal systems tin melang gina duguk blamo ame sa tella tiligi roll ba karing languk it's becoming at a disadvantage ra kuk gidel utility. Still, it has some effects to the grid, especially lolsis badengin mera grid. Ngani affect ra toran sergi, the maseng ergi, the we have to and we'll continue to work with our leaders. Bagalan mo meser tial la mesa ko sa mga to roll back bebi na igal ko ramle klungyolel tial to sel time adam le take advantage ni. Okay. Okay. Halik po ba to haral. Okay, so ilang Pedro identical to rate making raral ma of course I think dire kan mal dota kay expense operating expense capital maigal debt services awa loan mara malmel odak emom dangali sel klungela expense rigid. And then with that ekaduk tingul mingira klungela gallon sel bilet biler ngira pius. Gidam le biler. Seguidas elot tabdia, seguida otabdia water rate. Okay, ya suwer mong ngosisiw di as we all know ang batokaran mo low especially suwer ato bilur orior tamakasar ada low spe ni may lang may gal expensive tial system kaita sunin na presented tial may clol lungil system and it takes a lot to run that system clock operating cost rin hindi ako sa rates unfortunately hindi kal bilur bera orior ospering or hindi kal orior mayra ospering tamal di nga orior. So kaya customer base rin kaya the total gallons billed within quarter al mutil kaya. So seguido el expense hawa lo bira the only try baldi mo kasal adal lo spare tel system. Seguida ulmong teligibel ngarba ba arala asuwer aran melalta. Ela taida so kaduk tira de otia kora water tariff trend over the years. So ever since January 2013 I believe it yasira Boring see the Merger Act. Yeah, right there, as you can see over the years, adimle flat all the way men 2021. Okay? And then, so, from there, kadam lagi na kaduk mo omes ringi, emes ko sa makara dore tel ara bil mo sa edel maral capture sel, agal actual expense ra or tel toraran. So as you can tell, ang mlara sa 21 mlara $65 per 1,000 gallon, mas almo 672. Sa itsem leot lura dure ringil aralaran mersel time ra sa around January around 2023. Mangilas almo 672 dire I believe you guys remember ngul bangkala service charge dire ram letrible narba nga $15 for residential. So mlar saygi and then naring ako kora redder mataklet ko sa hale medruta mesatyang motabading gigi del service charge emlutel mere ringim relil mo volumetric. So mingub tanggal service charge agida milamol mga 672 up until early 2024 ikama mle proposal sa mle loba SL1 volumetric rate el dia service charge the rate el tuira klungalaw lela volume with which okay ka uspering en tilo badal me tiagid 837 mela seguida elang hoy mela seguida ela current rate seguida $8.37 per 1,000 gallon say rate el time I believe ka the di madangay mula sa ngaring isel kukora dil dowder gigil mar matakle del girel tiagid el rate and so mga artiar elang come next month, June 1st, and gira del mutal, el titiranga del merong kagi del yo. El mer sayid, in accordance mong mos edel, in compliance, ra ukla al mlamatibre al time. And then, so kaldi note ko sa ela tiagi del 837 na, kada mal, almost kada, tiagi del tukura full cost recovery, katakura dul longo dara similar not more tagi the full cost recovery leng from 837 yam le next el qora amle udas balu ben ko plan ergida kusa kadal mutel ira mal last el rate adjustment and el ngoygid mal more sayid el full cost recovery egas edel taqdam el mol من مغتقه التام الارسي es edel maral mo start el improver tial tora el med ma tora egal infrastructure in general to ko ulit nila ran marabalur belo. And that number would have been around 935. Seguida amles edlogor o mesin ko sang wild ball. Ngoy gidel more self-full cost recovery ra to kararan. So may al gadang artiang hindi ka come June 1st ka move til mora. Kaya gidel mari. 672. Okay? Ilang kaya huk trend ra huk kaya suwer. Kumedalo si siu sel tore aralan mga kadblo lo kaya suwer. Pedro si siu trend rin niya. Lara sa